Hello, everyone, and welcome to another AMA by the Olympians. Today, we are joined by the Asgard team who joined our Discord for this event, and they'll be talking about the project. We'll ask them a few more questions about, their token and their ecosystem, and then we'll move on to the community round where anyone can ask them any kind of questions. How are you guys?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, doing well. Thank you.
What's up, man?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
All right. Could you introduce us to Asgard? What is it about for those who don't know?
So I'll take the lead here. So Asgard is, well, it's a part of a bigger ecosystem that is called the Nine Realms. It's the governance and decentralized fund of the said ecosystem. Um, so essentially, Asgard, the way Asgard works is, we Asgard is going to be making investments in other projects, projects that potentially have yields, or just projects in general, like other tokens that could potentially appreciate, that we consider the projects to be sound and have potential in the future. And we will take the profits from those yields, along with profits from the TAD system that we have in place, and profits from the ecosystem itself, such as from Midgard and the swap. And we're going to reflect those profits back to the stakeholders of the ecosystem. So those that are staking in the Forge of Asgard is what we call it. Initially, this was the plan to go to this format. The plans have been sped up a little bit. We recently released our updated docs. Um, so you can see, all the details are there. There's a lot of details in there about that. Um, but that's the general idea. That's kind of the general overview of what Asgard is itself. We're also working uh, on the game. I'm sure some of you have heard about Midgard. So yeah, we're working on Midgard, which is part of the Nine Realms, and it's going to be a real time MMORPG with a Nordic theme, fantasy Nordic theme. So yeah, it's kind of a overview of what it is, of what everything is.
Yeah, great. It seems like you guys are have very ambitious plans for the project overall. Integrating an MMO to the token could be interesting. Speaking of that, 2022 seems to be kind of the year where pay to earn and GameFi narratives seem to be taking off, right? How do you plan to take advantage of this, and how do you view your project, and what can it offer in this market where almost every single GameFi product is successful?
Well, Midgard is, it's not it's more a play and earn game. That's what we like, how like to refer to it, because it is a game. There's it's a real time game. Like if you go and play World of Warcraft, that's what Midgard would be like. It's a game that you can run around, see other players, interact with them, talk with them, perform traditional crypto, gaming stuff. Like you can go to a mine, put your character, do an action, put your character to mine for 5 hours, and you can keep playing with your other character while that guy is mining. Um, so there's, it's but there's also going to be, you can go and slay monsters in real time, hit them, um, go on dungeons with your friends, make a guild, buy land. Yeah, it's I this game is very different from any game that's out there right now. I believe there's no game like it currently in the market. So yeah, it's positioned very well. And GameFi crypto gaming is an overall larger trend, right? It's a trend um, that's much different from, the kind of the short term trends that you see, such as the reflection tokens and all that. So it's going to be around for, we believe it's going to be around for a long time, and there's still a lot of maturity, a lot of maturing that needs to happen in that space overall. So yeah, I think there's a very bright future for GameFi and for Midgard, going forward.
And Odin, I'd also like to add, just from a higher level, the entire market for GameFi is huge. It's, if through some market research, if you've done any, it's the potential for it is huge. And, and that's what we're also seeking as well, is to carve out our own niche, and be a part of that, and and provide a product that is, that really isn't really out there for, provided by anybody else.
Like, for example, something that we are going to be announcing soon, but since we are in the AMA right now, I think it would be, you guys are going to get some early access here. We've been kind of teasing at it, but we are going to include chicken NFTs in our game. So you'll be able to use your chicken as a mount, and it will, all the attributes for the chicken have been pixelated to fit the format of the game, and you will be able to essentially ride your chicken in the game as a mount. Your actual chicken with all its attributes and whatnot. So that's a little fun teaser that we've been throwing around. If you look at the pictures that we've been showing, you're gonna see a big chicken in the background. Yeah,
Right. And characters for Midgard will act similarly as well. So how it will work is you'd mint your character initially through the NFTs, and you could take that NFT and plug it in to Midgard the game, and that will be the character that you will play with and upgrade with and explore the realms with.
All right. Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I'm sure many of us on the group and the community right now are really looking forward to more GameFi products, because they seem to be really interesting, and I think this will be the year of, metaverse and GameFi in general. So could you elaborate, because I saw your documents. I couldn't really understand your reputation system and Asgard citizenship. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, they're a little bit complicated. So the way they work is it all goes back to the reputation mechanics. So there's two tokens that you receive for certain actions in Asgard. That's Odin's favor, which is FVOR ticker, and then Odin's wrath, which is WRTH. So the way the rep is calculated is you subtract your favor from your wrath. I mean, you subtract your wrath from your favor. Sorry, and that'll give you your reputation. And that way, so the way that the citizenship tiers work is depending on what your reputation is, that's your citizenship tier. For example, if your reputation is 100, you're considered an Asgardian. And you have lower attach rates. So instead of having the 10.5% that you have as a freeholder, which is having no tier, you have a 9.5% attach rate now. And if you go up to the next tier, now you have a 7.5% attach rate, and you're considered a merchant lord, and so on and so forth, all the way up to the last tier, which is Jarl and Queen, that you have a 0.5% attach rate, right? And the way you generate favor is by locking your vault in the Forge of Asgard. Every rebase, you receive a fixed amount of favor that can be adjusted. So, for example, a while back, when we launched, we were having 5 favor per rebase, and now we're down to 2 favor per rebase, right? So that's dynamic too, and the wrath is generated based on your price impact when you sell Volt in the open market. So if you go to Trader Joe's, where the liquidity is, or any other shop, if there is liquidity there in the future, you will generate wrath based on the price impact. And mind you, this is something important. The price impact is not the price impact that you see in the front interface. The price impact is calculated on the real price impact on the price of the token, right? Because what you see on the front end is the price impact on your, what you will receive versus how you are impacting the actual price. So yeah, that's kind of an overview of how it works. So to summarize it, pretty much favor, you lock your tokens in the Forge of Asgard. you gain favor, and by selling, you gain wrath based on your price impact, and then your reputation is calculated based on favor minus wrath, and as that goes up, you go up in citizenship tiers, which lower your attach rate and also have additional perks, such as better stats in the game, um, some real life perks that we're working on. There's going to be more perks as time goes on for reaching those higher citizenship tiers. And if you go negative, there's also effects for that. So if you have negative wrath, you will have to repair yourself, or you will, if you continue to incur wrath, so you continue to sell and have large price impacts and dump. You will continue to get more and more wrath, which will get you to a negative rep, which will increase your attach rate on a scale it's in the docs. It's kind of complicated, but essentially from 1 to 10% price impact, every 0.1% you get one wrath, all the way up to 10%. So you can get like 100 wrath up to 10%. And then from there forward, you multiply that times 4, so you get 4 wrath every 0.1%. Price impact all the way up, continuously. Like that's infinite. Like it goes forever. So the maximum touch rate from that is 45%, but you need you need a lot of wrath, like a lot. I don't think anybody would get there unless they have like a 50% price impact or something like that. So yeah, it's a good mechanic to encourage. To encourage people to support the protocol in a healthy way and to prevent them from dumping in ways that hurt other participants of the protocol. Because at the end of the day, those profits right now, they're not reflecting back to the holders because we're using it for game development. But when that's done, when we flip it over to reflect back to the holders, it'll be something that will benefit everybody that's participating in the protocol from, other players that are not, benefiting the protocol. So.
Okay, that makes it a lot more clear. I couldn't really grasp it the first time I saw it. I was thinking because, you guys must know that the market recently crashed, and this hasn't been a great week for crypto in general. A lot of people fearing going into stables. What's your strategy in case we see another pattern like this in the next few months? Not talking about a bear market, but maybe a not so friendly one. What would you do in a situation like that?
Well, there's really, I would say that's kind of out of our control what the market does. What we will do is continue working, developing our game. We have enough runway right now to develop, what we're going to release by Q2, and we have some additional runway past that. So that's really not an issue for what we're trying to accomplish, and we're building a project that has foundations overall. So I believe it's a little bit different than just launching tokens that don't really have any utility. Those tend to suffer the most in these kinds of markets, versus we are providing a utility all around in our ecosystem and in our value propositions. There's multiple value propositions in the Nine Realms ecosystem as a whole. So yeah, I think I'm not too concerned about the state of the market in that sense. Yeah.
Show must go on. We
Yeah.
must continue building the game. That's our goal here. So.
Yeah, that seems fair. Some projects will not be as affected as others, and will not be, or at least will recover easily from a potential crash. That's true. Now, moving in regards to security or accountability measures, I've seen you guys have a video in which one of your co-founders, Dodds, was explaining the project. And people here in this space always love and appreciate transparency. Do you have other measures that plan to, kind of?
Well, Mimir is one of our core team members. We have around 4. We have 4 core team members. Dor, Vili, and Mimir. Mimir is dodged completely. His face is everywhere. I'm sure you will run into his face at some point. And he holds all of our KYCs. So, yeah, he has a picture of us with our face, with our license plate. I mean, not our license plate, our licenses. We're all based in the U.S. So, yeah, it's at Mimir. Mimir is in France right now, in Europe. But yeah, you can track any of us down eventually. Mimir has the power to release that. Also, Mimir has given his KYC to community members, and they hold that also. So they know who Mimir is, and that flows down back to us.
Okay, that makes it clear. One last question from myself, and then we can move on to the community round. What are your goals for Asgard in this 2022?
Well, for the entire our goal is to develop the entire Nine Realms ecosystem. Essentially, continue developing the Nine Realms ecosystem, tie it all together. Get the profit sharing model going. We're working on those contracts. They'll be updated in due time when they're ready. And finish the game and hopefully have a great launch. That's kind of the goals that we have for this year.
All right, that was it for me, guys. We can move on to the community round. If anyone on the audience wants to request to speak, you can raise your hand and we can give you access to ask the team any questions. Otherwise, you can drop your questions on the chat. All right.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. You can answer any questions if you see anything interesting on the chat.
I see Slayer Slay raising his hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bring him on up.
Yeah, I'm bringing him in. Let's see if he accepts.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm just curious of like a timeline, or if there is one.
For what, Midgard?
For Midgard, yes.
Okay. Well, we have a plan to release a alpha and proof of concept by quarter two, by the early to mid quarter two 2022. And then from that we will continue developing and adding more modules. It'll be like a kind of modular development since Midgard is massive. There's a lot of things that need to be created that haven't been done before. So, but our proof of concept is going to be a lot. It's going to be more than what's already out there in most crypto games, right? So it's already going to be pretty revolutionary in terms of what it is in itself. It's going to have a lot of the concept that we've discussing, the mount, you walking around, the multiplayer aspect. It could or could not be included yet at that point. Our target is to include it, and that is what we're looking forward to. But we can't guarantee. There's always with any project, there's always things that you can run into. But yeah, that's what we're kind of hoping to have a good proof of concept where you'll be able to run around the town square and perform all the typical actions that you will have in a MMO in a crypto game. You're mining and whatnot, right? Getting quests, doing missions, and then we'll keep expanding from there. That's gonna be kind of like a proof of concept in alpha, and you'll be able to use your Midgard NFTs and everything.
All right, thank you for answering that.
Yeah.
Thank you for your question. Maybe if you see any questions on the test chat.
Any additional questions?
Oh, there's some in the chat up there, right above the AMA section.
I see it. Yeah. Okay. How much it will cost to mint the DG Librarian? How much will it cost to mint the Alpha Gen heroes? We will disclose that a little bit closer to launch. So,
Yeah, we're currently working on getting all the art together for the NFTs, and the contracts all assigned. So we're kind of in the thick of it right now. I'm assuming in the coming weeks we'll have more details on when that launch will be.
Here's one good question. Are there plans to implement a voting system so the community can propose and vote on what investments are being made with the Treasury? So your AMP token is essentially a governance token, right? It allows you voting powers, and there are plans preliminary to go in that direction. We want the community to be a part of some of the decisions we make that would benefit the overall community in terms of, how the treasury is invested and how those profits are given back to each of the investors.
Yeah, and we've already been testing that a little bit, just in a very rough way, not with AMP being the governance token, but just listening to the community and feeling out what they have to say. We try to keep pretty close to in close contact with people in the community. We don't know everything about the market. There's a lot of stuff out there, so we're always grateful for any suggestions that come our way when it comes to future investments.
So, and here's something interesting that we're exploring. So the way the governance will work, eventually, because we will shift to a voting, an official voting system with AMP. And the reputation will also tie into this in a way, right? Those that hold not only the most AMP, but also the highest reputation, their AMP will be factored, their reputation will be factored into that voting, right? So the participants in the ecosystem that have the best reputation will have the potential, even though you might not have a ton of AMP, but you've been a very good player and you've been doing, you've been following, um, doing the best you can for the protocol, and that will be measured with your favor. Um, that will have a measurable impact on on your your vote, what's considered in your vote, how your vote is considered. Sorry. Let's see. Their questions.
Oh yeah. I like this one. How will the ecosystem synergize together in terms of marketing, in terms of tokenomics? Sorry.
Okay, so the way to work, this I'm glad you asked that question because it's really interesting. Um, so for example, Volt will be used in Midgard as a premier ultra premier, I guess you call it ultimate currency, and as in you will need it to form guilds. You will need it to level up your guild. You will need it in your guild treasury for the leaderboards. It'll grant you special access to certain dungeons. Um, it'll it'll work like an instant revive. There's going to be a lot of perks and a lot of things that you'll be able to use both in Midgard. Um, and then all that bolt used in Midgard will be burnt, right? It'll all be burnt. So it creates a deflationary mechanism for Volt. Um, and so the way meat is going to interact, this meat is going to be the premium currency. You can use it to mint legendary weapons. You can use it to craft legendary items, craft legendary armors. You can use it for mid-level dungeons. It's gonna be kind of like the mid-level currency, and then drachma is just gonna be overall integrated into the Midgard ecosystem, which is gonna be it's gonna be the token for the debts, and it'll be like for regular purchases, the traditional currency that you would see in an MMORPG for buying stuff from the store. It'll be the the play and earn token. So it'll be minted and you'll gain it for running your missions um, and doing everything that that you'll gain it from anything that you do in the game essentially. Um, and mead is also, let me go back to mead. Mead is also deflationary. So meat is going to keep getting rarer and rarer as time goes on. Currently, I think 40% of the supply of meat has been burnt, and that's going to keep getting bigger as more transactions happen, right? And I imagine when Midgard launches, that will be, that will speed up immensely. And it'll just the point is that meat will continue to get rarer and rarer, and that's something that we wanted. It's purposefully. Thor's meat is supposed to be a rare commodity, right? It came straight from Thor, from a god, so it kind of rolls into the lore in a way. Yeah, so they all the tokens that we released so far have functions. So Volt not only is the governance token um, and the token of your, representing your stake in Asgard as the decentralized fund, and you'll be able to participate in the profit sharing model. You will also be able to use it in Midgard too.
And it will burn based on the uses in Midgard. So this kind of solves some of the hyperinflationary mechanisms that are inherent in these ohm-based DAO models of just printing tokens based on the bonding. So upgrading to a legendary weapon with Volt or using it for land purchases or any of these more high level purchases in Midgard will burn the Volt. So, it won't be completely deflationary at that point, but it's definitely designed to mitigate the inflation.
Yeah, and to coin 2040's question, the core team is 4 members, but the entire team, including advisors, is about 9 members. We have we have a software developer, an owner of a software development company that he himself is a software developer. That he has about, I want to say, I think 30 employees, something like that.
Yeah, something in there.
Yeah, and we have access to his resources. He does a lot of front end database development, stuff like that. He has a variety of software engineers that have a large background. They cover a lot of backgrounds, and so the features that distinguish us from our competitors is, well, just the fact that we're a real time game. For example, DeFi Kingdoms is not a real time game. You can't walk around with your character. In our game, you can walk around with your character, and you can do it's really hard to conceptualize how different our game is, because our game is what a MMORPG game is. Like, if you, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, if you go play World of Warcraft, or you play any traditional MMORPG that's real time, that you can walk around and fight monsters out there, that is what our game is. You can use your character, like you would use in a traditional MMORPG. It's not limited to just interacting with a front end interface. It's an actual game, right?
Right, where we're tokenizing all of the assets in the game, which will relate directly into the treasury. So we could launch a token that's apples, for example, and launch that token out of the treasury and spawn apples in the game. Or the various NFT projects that we've been talking with, or our own NFTs.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. There's another question regarding the battle system of Midgard.
Okay, so for the battle system, it'll be real time. That's what we're targeting. It'll be more like, how to explain it? I guess you could say it's more like MapleStory. It's, you'll be able to slash monsters in real time. Like, you'll go up to them and you'll press a button and you'll slash them, right? You'll hit them until they faint. Yeah, it'll be like that. It won't be. We're not planning for it to be target system based. It'll be more action oriented. Of course, this is always subject to change, but that is what we're planning. we could always decide to go another route with that. But that is our current plan.
But I don't like turn-based combat games.
Yeah.
Personally. So we will do everything to steer away from that.
Another one from Coin 2040. What about marketing strategies in Q1 2022?
Well, go ahead, Willie. Sorry.
Well, yeah, no, just was going to say, and Odin, you can add on to it as well. We definitely plan to drop teasers for Midgard, and that will be part of the marketing strategy. We are planning out all the things that we want to drop. Some of the things we don't want to reveal until we get closer. But you'll notice as we get closer to the release and a little before, there'll be some partnerships that will be unveiled, and all these things to build a hype. Before Midgard actually launches, it'll be a nice launch, and there'll be a little runway before it launches of building that hype. And Odin, would you like to add something to that?
So right now, given the state of the market, our marketing, we ramped up our marketing in some areas. We've been doing some grassroots marketing. We've also been reaching out to promos and stuff like that to get things going. We're also exploring. We're planning to hire a full-fledged marketing team. The only thing that we are holding back right now is the state of the market. Marketing won't be as effective right now as it will when we start to see some recovery. So the state of the market does affect this in some way, because you don't just want to throw money at marketing if it's not being effective, right? So we're holding back a little bit. We're a little reserved right now, waiting to see how things improve a bit to really start going at it, right? But we are always releasing updates on our content as we progress, and showing highlights and teasers of what the game and the characters look like and stuff like that.
Should we drop that teaser in here for the NFTs?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I have the teaser on hand.
I have it right here too.
Drop it.
Oh, sure.
Let me drop the headshots that you took.
Oh, they're all in there.
Oh, that's it's a GIF. Don't need to play it.
There you
go. So those would be the Midgardian characters, and the world is gonna be a 2.5D game. So the world is gonna be in 3D, in a kind of 3D tile set, you can say. Just imagine regular tile set in a 3D format, kind of the angle. You're kind of looking at your character from an angle. If you've played Octopath Traveler, you can kind of visualize what I'm talking about in terms of gaming environment and the world. That'll give you a pretty good idea of what the game will look like. But you'll see other players running around in real time, riding their mounts. I don't know, just playing around, dueling, PvPing, whatever. So yeah, it's that's what your Midgardian would look like in the game. If you get a Midgardian like that.
Oh, those look really cool. Oh, someone is asking about classes and if there are random characters.
Yeah, there's gonna be classes. We're working on the class system. We're mapping that out. In terms of whether they are tied to the attributes of your character, well, really, we want people to have a blank slate with their characters. So that's still up in the air. It might be subject to change, but we don't want to tie the classes to the characters. It would be better for players to be able to choose their class, and then some equipment will be locked based on that class, right? And there'll be different rarities for each equipment and whatnot.
Right. Go ahead. Sorry.
Your Midgardian is kind of you can think of it as a blank slate, and the rarity is gonna depend on not only the traits, as in visually, the eyes, we got some characters that got like missing eyes, like some really cool features, and that look like Viking warriors. Some of them are like bulkier and like more muscular than others and stuff like that, and they have different base armors too. So that'll contribute to the rarity, their cosmetic look, and also their stats. They're gonna have slightly superior stats to more common characters, and those could be different. You might have a character that's like their strength and their endurance is higher than the other character, and that character might be good to be a knight or something like that, right? Or berserker. So just think about your character as it's gonna be a blank slate. Like when you start an MMORPG, your character is a blank slate. That's what your Midgardian is. Just with boosted stats depending on rarity and stuff like that. So yeah, people will get the full MMORPG experience in that sense. You won't have to worry about getting a knight and not being able to play a mage or something like that. That's not what we want. We want people to have fun and be able to, have fun in our game. Be able to build their characters how they want them. You can have 5 characters and one of each class, right? Yeah.
And we are conscious too of the looks rare part of NFTs. We're planning on having like expansion packs in the future of more, magical items or different things or armor sets and all of these things as well, which will be add-ons in the game. So how it would work is you have your base character, and then you could purchase or find or craft these different armor sets later on. And then those will be added on in the front end of the game. So you can see the visual representation of your character wearing those items.
All right. Do we have any more questions in the chat?
There's a couple of people typing. We'll see if they have any questions. Yeah, seriously. Yes, that's a big yes. Yeah, that is a big yes.
Oh yeah, we'll totally be playing the game with you guys. I mean, we're building a game that we want to play. That's why we want to steer away from turn-based combat.
We already have a Twitch stream going, so hopefully you'll see the game that's playing as Midgard online on the Twitch stream. You probably will.
Yeah, absolutely. Green Marine, looking forward to it.
Shillin's asking, is it going to be possible to get, for example, a cool legendary armor NFT from playing the game? Like, for example, a boss dropping it.
Yes, it'll be possible. It'll be rare because we have 2 things to consider here. We have to consider not only what you can obtain in the game and how rare it is, but the open market, because it is a play and earn game, right? You want players to be able to, there needs to be value, in time invested in getting an ultra rare item that then a player can then go to the market and sell it, right? That's an important consideration that we have in mind. So we're trying to find the right balance between rewarding players in the game and keeping that in consideration, like the open market, the resale NFT market, right? Because those are 2 important parts of this economy. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, it'll be a possibility. It'll be hard. You might have to grind a lot. But yeah, at some point you be able to probably earn an armor. I mean, you might need to spend a lot of time doing it though. Just saying, like in any RPG, actually, I remember running wild raids like a million times and not getting anything until you finally get the item, right? So you can think of it something like that.
Green Marine is asking, will NFTs be obtained only by drops, or will special currencies be able to mint gear without playing for it?
So you will be able to craft. There will be certain items that you will only be able to craft with the special currencies. That's the plan. There's gonna be
So
mythic and legendary items. Oh, go ahead,
so
Thor.
maybe we can talk about the volcanoes in this case.
Yeah. Okay. So, you guys know, if you're familiar with Asgard, you're also familiar with Muspel and the volcanoes. So the volcanoes serve two purposes. Right now, we only have one volcano, which is for mead, and that mead is probably going to be burnt. But we will have other volcanoes, such as min volcanoes, die volcanoes. These kind of serve as reverse bonds in a sense. They don't give out both, but they do cleanse your wrath. So if people have been very naughty and they need a way to cleanse their wrath, they can go do that in a volcano. And not that value goes straight to the treasury, especially stables and other tokens. It could be any token. It could be memo. Any investment that we want to add to the treasury, people can cleanse their wrath through that mechanism. And not only do they cleanse their wrath, but certain volcanoes will also give you Tears of Sutur, which are a special token that will be used in crafting some items. So yeah, eventually, if you want to get some items, you will have to maybe like get 4 wrath or something, and and get some Tears of Sutur from the volcano. That'll be another crafting ingredient in some things.
Yeah, I'd look
In
at
the
it as
game.
a quest in that case.
Yeah, kind of a quest to go to Muspel and sacrifice some stuff in a volcano. Um, there's a lot of mechanisms in place. The Nine Realms ecosystem is very sophisticated. There's been a lot of thought put into it, into making it very synergetic with each other, and you'll be able to see that as we progress. We put a lot of thought into synergy between all the realms. We also have Jotunheimer, which is another realm we're excited about, which is our launch pad. If you guys have seen that we are the only fund, or I guess the only protocol that allows you to bond in tokens that are not just like, for example, Volt and the stable LP or AVATs. Like we currently have a wrapped memo bond, a memo bond, and the Mead AVAT LP bond. Those are not possible in the traditional protocol that we based our project off of. Um, those allow us to get investments into the treasury in ways that were not possible before. And that also gives us the opportunity to use it as a launch pad, right? So we can promote other projects through those bonds. And that is part of the Jotunheimer strategy, which is a launch pad for future tokens that want to use our platform and uh, leverage us. And the profits from that will also be reflected back to the stakeholders in Asgard. So there's a lot of ways for Asgardian stakeholders to profit, directly from holding Volt versus having to sell Volt. Right? You lock your Volt, you get AMP, you stake it in the contract to receive. You get that AMP and you put in the contract to receive your reflections. The higher your reputation is, the more weighted your AMP is, and the more rewards you get in the form of stables or other tokens. And it won't have a measurable impact on the price of Volt, because you don't need to go back and sell Volt anymore. Now you just need to hold your Volt, and and you're gonna accumulate value. You're gonna get paid essentially by doing that. Um, so yeah, it's everything is very synergetic um in our ecosystem. Everything synergizes really well, I would say.
Easy Rick had a question. He said, "Will there be chanclas?" And the answer is yes.
Well, I guess we have a couple of special weapons in mind for Midgard. And I could probably say chanclas would be a strong weapon. You might want to get a chancla in Midgard. Um, You might also want to get a crab and some other stuff. But yeah.
Slayer Slay asked, are there lockup periods something you guys plan on doing potentially for higher rewards? That is something that we've talked about, and that was in the original plans for the staked amp. For right now, we've just been planning on just doing lockups based on your reputation.
So to answer Ezric's question, because that was something that came up in our Discord too, and I was really excited to answer that because there's a game that's also being made that everything they do is a transaction, like cutting trees is a transaction, and that's very cumbersome. Um, we're not doing that. All your actions will be in real time and they'll be kept in a game state. Um, you can go do anything and you won't have a delay. It won't matter on the network congestion. It's separate from the network congestion. We're using a hybrid model for our game. Um, your items will be NFTs. You will earn items in the game, and then you can return those items once you accumulate enough items. You can go to your inventory and reserve those items into their NFT form, and then you'll be able to use them in the market to trade and to um, to equip and everything. It'll be kind of, how in some games you have like that mystery item that you need to go and reveal that mystery item what it is. um Kind of like that in a sense, like you'll need to go and identify or preserve that item that you earned, that those materials and whatnot, and that'll be the point where you pay your gas fee, and it gets minted and added to the blockchain and into your wallet. um yeah. So you won't have to worry about going cutting a tree and waiting a minute for the pending transaction to go through to go to the next tree. No, that's not gonna happen with our game. Yep. Any more questions?
Oh, Elevate NZ has his hand up.
Oh, Oraculum, can you bring up Elevate NZ into the stage?
Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, I just invited him to speak. He just needs to accept. There you go.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey there.
Yeah, so one of the questions I have is, we're talking about like the tokenomics being integrated into Midgard. Does that mean like the staking system of Vault might slowly like phase out and be more incorporated just into the game itself, or will that staking system always be there?
No, so the way it'll work is Volt will eventually be first serve three functions. It'll be a currency in Midgard, which will be a deflationary function. Any Volt using Midgard will be burnt, and the other function will be governance. When you lock your Bolt, it will be AMP, um, and you will be able to vote with that. And then the other function will be the profit reflection model, which will reflect profits from the ecosystem to people who locked their vault, right? You will earn in the form of other tokens that are not Volt. It will, or AMP. It'll be, you might get it'll be from our investments, essentially, the profits and yields from investments that the Treasury makes. That will be reflected back to holders, along with taxes and from the ecosystem and fees from the realms in the ecosystem. And it'll also, it'll be the way that you generate a favor, and it'll also be the way that you participate in the launch pad. It's kind of like your ticket to everything in, the Asgard Essential is kind of your ticket to everything in the Nine Realms ecosystem.
So then my next question would be, so really you kind of going to be forced to play the game to really, if you really want to earn rewards, opposed to like the current setup being that you can kind of just sit and like earn rewards with the current setup?
No. The Asgard is separate. It's tied, but it's separate. You don't need to play the game to receive your reflections, your profit reflections from Asgard, or the reflections from profits from the rest of the ecosystem. You don't need to play the game. If you don't want to play the game, you can just stake your vault and receive those rewards for locking your vault.
Yeah, that was my only question. It was just in the event that obviously some people have a lot more time than others in relation to game time, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
in a nutshell, they're independent, you know, Asgard and Midgard, but they're intertwined. So there's
Yeah.
if you're part of the ecosystem and you've taken part in it, and you know, especially for Volt, if you've been in it for a long time, there'll be inherent advantages in Midgard, but they will both stand as independent things. So if you're only interested in investing, you know, you could invest in Volt, and plus there'll be additional utility for Volt in Midgard. So that makes it a unique investment in that case.
yeah. I would say that Asgard is more of a requirement to Midgard than Midgard is a requirement to Asgard. Midgard is not a requirement for Asgard, but you do need to somewhat participate in Asgard to get benefits in Midgard. You know, such as buying Volt, gaining favor for stat boosts, things like that. Events for having high favor, you know, higher reputation. So yeah, I would say it's the opposite. If you ever want to play Midgard and you've been in Asgard, you will have benefits compared to somebody who has never participated in Asgard, right? So yeah, you don't need to play the game you don't need to play Midgard to participate in Asgard and receive your rewards and your profits.
It's live. Thanks for that.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you for your
Thanks, man.
question. All right. If you guys have any last comments before we wrap this up.
Nope. Any other questions? I think we've said a lot a lot today.
Yeah, feel free to come over to the Discord too and talk to us, or we have a pretty strong, knowledgeable community that we've went over a lot of this with. So if you have any more questions later, feel free to come on by, talk to one of us or whoever.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming. Thanks to the Asgard team as well. Thank you guys.
Hey, thank you.
We hope to see you on the Nets AMA. To those who are general here, who are, you know, always on the AMAs. And that's it. Thank you all for coming, and see you.